All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakah Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere Shalom to Yakim bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. Lord willing, you can hear me. Yeah, but as you see on the screen, it says end time headlines: ultra processed food, which makes up half the average diet, linked with increased risk of lung cancer. And this is the point, man. It's not just lung cancer in which you're being affected. And we know that the mix of deadly concoctions of Esau spraying shit in the air, the water being poisoned, the food being poisoned, and it's not just the ultra processed food. It's food in general, all the food, even what you call so-called uh, organic, man. Right? The fact that you have to have a category called organic when it came out of the earth is just straight demonic in itself, right? But it's showing you that this is why we need just another reason as to why we need deliverance, man. Right? Because everything that we're eating in this life is ultimately killing us. That's why I want to start off with this here in the book of Lamentations, the third chapter, and the 21st verse. It says, "This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of Yahweh's mercies, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's mercies, that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not." And that's on every level. It's not just food. Though this lesson is specifically about the health state, and what we're putting into our bodies, it's of the Lord's mercies that we're not, dead, man. That we're not in the spirit world, because we really don't know what we're eating. Yeah, there's a label on everything. Yeah, it tells you the quote unquote ingredients. Hey, but we don't know what's really in this stuff, you know. Hey, and not only that, he is you know chanting seances and all different types of demonic and witchcraft, over the food, over the water, over the air, so forth and so on, man. And this is why it's imperative that you be grateful unto Yahweh Bashim Shai, man, because it's of his mercies that we're not consumed, right? Because his compassions fail not. It says they are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, right? So let's go into this word consumed, right? H8552 says tamam or thamam, right? Which means to be finished. It's like a thamam, right? It says to be consumed, to be finished, to be destroyed, right? To be consumed, right? And it says right here to be exhausted, right? And we understand that the flesh is weak, but ultimately Yahweh Shema Shah is allowing us to continue in this faith, because much like how the scripture tells us, he's speeding up the days for the elect's sake, where he's allowing us to push for the elect's sake, man, right? Because we're straight up eating, we don't know, I just got to say that you just don't know, right? Even though something may say all the ingredients, you really don't know what's in it, man. And that in itself is crazy, right? Just another reason why this devil got to be put out of his position on the earth, man. This is Ezekiel 4:13. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their bread defiled among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them." And it's not just bread, man, but that it consists of all our food that we're eating, man. Even water that tells you it's alkaline, it's still been touched by him, right? Because it's bottled by him, whether it's a glass bottle, whether it's a plastic bottle, whatever the bottle may be. He tapped into that water source. He's already taken all of the nutrients out of the water, right? That's why when we go into the book of Sirach 40, it speaks of all these things basically being created, the principal uses of a man's life. Matter of fact, let's go there. One second. Here it is. This Sirach 39 and 26. It says the principal things for the whole use of man's life are fire. It's like are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. All these things are for good to the godly, so to the sinners are they turned to evil, right? And these are the necessities of man, right? Water, and understanding not only water to drink, but the water that consists within your blood. It says fire, right? In order to cook, and also the fire within us, the spirit. It says iron, right, which is an essential within the blood and also weaponry, right? Because without iron, especially those with low iron, you'll be called not be called, you'll have anemia, right? Your limbs will get cold, you'll get sleepier faster, so forth and so on. Because iron is a essential mineral that has to be within your body. Salt as well, man, right? And without proper sodium within the body, because you can have an imbalance of all these things, right? Without proper sodium, you'll get cramps, right? Your body won't be able to balance itself, right? And also having the salts that Esau puts in the food, going back into this ultra processed, right? It says a growing body of scientific evidence is now linking the consumption of ultra processed food or ultra processed foods to an elevated risk of lung cancer, promoting renewed concern about how modern dietary patterns may influence serious disease beyond traditional risk factors, such as smoking. A recent study published in the medical journal Thorax suggests that individuals who consume higher levels of ultra-processed foods face a significantly increased risk of developing lung cancer, including both of its common form and its more aggressive subtype. Ultra-processed foods, often referred to as UPFs, which are what your fast foods, your McDonald's, your Wendy's, your Jack in the Cracks, so forth and so on, man. Burger King, those are ultra-processed foods. Your Hot Pockets, your hot Cheetos, your Takis, all of these different unnatural foods, man, right? Your honey buns, your Little Debbie cakes. We can go on and on, man, right? Include industrial manufactured products such as sugary soft drinks, your Kool-Aids, your High C's, your Tampicos, packaged snacks, your Doritos, right? Your Skittles. What's the I can't think of the straws, but the sour straws, Sour Patch Kids, instant meals, cup of noodles, right? Hot Pockets, pizza bites, bagel bites. You can go on and on. Processed meats, which would be what your lunch meats that's unnatural, man. Like the budding meats. Those are highly processed meats. You have what up? Esau put pork and all that shit, right? It says in mass produced baked goods. That's the Little Debbie's, on and on, honey buns and snowballs and all that stuff, man. Which Esau has something. Oh, I'm not even showing the tab, so like and Esau calls it it's something called bliss points. Matter of fact, it's a topic that I always enjoy going into because health is wealth, man. Right? We understand that these bodies that we have, these chains of darkness, they're weak, but you still take care of what the Lord gave you. That's not to be ungrateful. It says bliss point. It says term for amount of ingredients to optimize food taste. The bliss point is the amount of an ingredient such as salt, sugar, or fat, which optimizes deliciousness, right? And that's wicked. That's wicked as shit, man. Right? Because here it is, back when the Elohim created, the herb-bearing seeds, the food, so forth and so on upon the earth, right? It was already perfect, right? Everything had its balance of bitter, of sweet, of tart, of sour. These are all different palates or sensory, what would you call it? Sensory receptors on our tongue, man, our taste buds. But he does what? He boosts those sugars, salts, and fats, basically to create a concoction that'll slowly kill you. That's why if you have a diet that has high sugars and fats, for example, candy bars. If you eat a lot of candy bars, that's how people get diabetes, right? Because it's unnatural sugars, right? It's sugars that don't break down properly within the body, right? Now, if you're eating something as, for example, a kiwi, or mangoes, coconuts, these are sugars that the body can process more effectively, man, and they have way more benefits to the body than those ultra processed foods, man. Right? So eating these things, cut them out, man, because it's killing you. It's killing you slowly and surely. That's why Esau will promote a show called my 500, 600, 700 pound life, and be able to run 15 seasons of the show because he's created the cancer upon the earth, man. Right? How is it that you have people who are watching themselves eat themselves to death, man? You watch yourself go from 250 which even that, as a woman that's under 5'4", why are you 250 pounds? But she'll watch herself go from 250 to 300, 320 to 460, 460 to 500 pounds. Her family continues to just feed her, or and Esau's made it so convenient to now that woman don't even got to get up. She can have the food delivered at her door. She can scroll in a DoorDash app or whatever the app may be, and foam at the mouth until she sees what she wants to crave on, man. And she'll order it. And they'll continue to deliver it, It says these foods typically contain additives, preservatives, emulsifiers, artificial flavorings, and colorings that are rarely used in home cooking, meaning it's just unnatural, man. So when we go back into the book of Sirach 39, and it says salt. Salt can kill if not had in a proper moderation. Even your regular table salt, man. That the white salt, man. I can't think of what the name is. But you have better salts. You have Celtic salt. You have black salt. These are salt that have higher nutrient content. Himalayan pink salt, right? It says flour of wheat. We just read Ezekiel 4. The bread. You see a video, you're eating white bread, Wonder Bread, or regular wheat bread. It's poison. You can ball it up, and it's just gonna unfold like it's styrofoam, man. The honey in the bears is not real honey. That's not real honey, man. If you have a honey with a bear on it and a nozzle, man, that's not real honey, right? That's just concentrated sugars. It says milk, completely messed up, straight up mucus now, right? Even the cheeses down into American cheese, man. They have something called American cheese, which on it it'll say processed cheese or processed pasteurized cheese product. That's what it say. It says in the blood of the grape. The wine, the yayan that we're drinking isn't even, the quality. We're drinking the bottom of the barrel yayan, man. It says oil, everything is cooked in vegetable oil or some type of oil that's killing you, palm oil, so forth and so on. And the clothing, the scriptures give very specific on how the clothes are supposed to be of one fabric. But you see, the scriptures tell us, man, for good are good things created from the beginning. So evil things for sinners. That's why the scripture says, for surely the turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay, man. Because Esau has manipulated all these markets to where everything is fighting against you, right? Hence, ultra-processed foods making up half the average diet, right? It's easier to go out and get fast food because it's convenient. You don't have to go to a grocery store and cook. Oh, and guess what? He gave you $1 menu to where you can kill yourself cheaper, right? Going back to Lamentations 2, man. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, right? And then he has a market called the what? The Food and Drug Administration, right? Which is linked to what? Your healthcare administration, right? And what does he push there? More toxins in your body so that you never heal. You're just receiving what? Treatments. And those treatments are ultimately just covering up the or I should say not covering up, lessening symptoms for the moment, right? It says the analyzed health and dietary data from more than 100,000 right here. These foods typically contain additives, preservatives, emulsifiers, artificial flavorings, and colorings that are rarely used in home cooking. Under the widely used NOVA food classification system, ultra-processed foods are defined not simply by poor nutritional value, but by the extensive industrial processes used to create them, right? The study analyzed health and dietary data from more than 100,000 adults over a long-term follow-up period. Researchers found that participants who consumed the highest amounts of ultra-processed foods were significantly more likely to develop lung cancer compared to those who consumed the least. And it's not just lung cancer. It's all different types of diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, right? All of these things, man. It says, according to the study, higher consumption of ultra-processed food was independently associated with an increased hazard for lung cancer, non-small cell lung cancer, and small cell lung cancer compared with those in the lowest quarter. Non-small cell lung cancer, which accounts for the majority of lung cancer cases, showed a particularly strong association with high ultra-processed food intake. right? And that's why when you take a look at the American diet, even the saying 3 meals a day, that's something that Esau created himself, right? You didn't really eat every day in the ancient day, man. And I mean in terms of the quantity of food that we're eating, and of course the quality. You know, you may eat, some herbs and fruit, at a particular time. Drink some water or whatever the case may be, some wine. But you'll have a meal, and every day wasn't a meal with meat, right? And that's why the scripture tells us this in the book of, this is a stalled ox. Here we go. This is Proverbs 15 and 17. It says, better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. Right? And that stall goes into fattened ox, right? Because the herbs digest faster and within your body, more than meat. Meat, it takes longer and more energy for that meat to digest than the herbs do. Right? And we understand that the American diet is full of meat, bread, and cheese, man. You'll hear grown ass adults talk about, oh, I don't like vegetables, right? In this society, you'll hear them say, I don't like vegetables. You have people who can't even eat lettuce, man, because they just find it gross, right? But this is why the American people are the fattest people on the earth, the most unhealthiest individuals in the world, man. Just a bunch of fat asses and unhealthy people, man, right? Ridden of diseases because of the diet here, man. That's why when you go into other countries, even the fast food in other countries, you may have a McDonald's or a KFC in another country. Hey, their KFCs or McDonald's are going to be healthier than what they have here in the States, even though it's still going to be shit. It's going to be far healthier than here, man. Right? They don't use herbs, and cooking in the American diet. Even take a look on any social media platform, man. The bulk of foods that individuals are cooking, it's all going to be the color of yellow, red, yellow or red. Whether it be cheeses, whether it be meats, that's the majority of the diets, man. Hey, rarely do you see people with a bunch of greens on their plate, unless it's just eating greens. Then niggas will put ham in it, right? But this is what it is, man. This is what it is. This is Mark 16. I'll start here at 17. It says, these miraculous signs will accompany those who believe. They will cast out demons in my name, and they will speak in new languages. They will be able to handle snakes with safety, and if they drink anything poisonous, it won't hurt them. They will be able to place their hands on the sick, and they will be healed. And ultimately, Yahweh Shema Shah is allowing us to, drink poison and living, man. Right? Because even the water you're drinking, man, is mixed with calcium chloride. It's mixed with sodium bicarbonate. It's supposed to have the natural silver and different precious metals they're purifying or helping purify the water. And it's supposed to be alkaline, and it's supposed to be spring water at that. Purified water is slowly killing people, man. Spring water is better, much like coconut water. Coconut water is better as well, right? One thing coconut water does is it replenishes those red blood cells, faster than regular water does. Because another thing, coconut water has more potassium in it than actual banana, man. Right? And in the case of an emergency, you can actually get a liquid IV with coconut water, right? It's close to the chemical composition of blood, right? But it says they will be able to handle snakes safely. It's like it handles snakes with safety, and if they drink anything poisonous, it won't hurt them. So going back into the book of Lamentations, the Lord having mercy on us that we aren't consumed, man. That we aren't just dying here. Because if without the mercy of Yahweh Shema Shai, we grew up eating chicken fingers and chicken nuggets and hot and spices, all that shit was supposed to kill you, man. That was straight poison entering in your body. You willingly eating it, because it was cheap and good to you, right? And grew up eating fucking burgers, 4 for 4s and shit, man. That came a little later, than the years I was born, but nevertheless, this is what these young nigglets are eating, and you see how it's altering your mind, right? Because those foods are literally chemicals, man. They're literal chemicals entering into the body, right? So Jake just start bugging out, because their their inner being is at war, man. Right? Continuing here, it says, let's go back. Scientists are still exploring the biological mechanisms that could explain the link between ultra processed foods and lung cancer. One leading theory is that the diets in high ultra processed foods promote chronic inflammation, right? You got people with gout, says oxidative stress, obesity, and metabolic dysfunction, all of which have been linked to cancer development. Additionally, certain chemicals formed during industrial food processing or added as preservatives may contribute to cellular damage over time, though further research is needed to confirm these effects, right? And it's just the truth. He knows that it is. It says public health researchers notes that ultra processed foods now make up a substantial portion of daily calorie intake in many Western countries, in some cases exceeding half of total consumption. Hey, how often do you see individuals, eating, trail mix, that's not uh, um, from planters, man, right? And even though it's from planters, it's better than eating a bag of chips, man. But it's still poison too. The nuts are poison too because the soil is, the water is, so forth and so on. But these are things that are far better for health, far better in your health, man. It says this widespread reliance means that even a modest increase in cancer risk could have significant consequences at a population level. Health experts continue to emphasize the benefits of diets centered on whole, minimally processed foods such as fruits, vegetables, legumes. And that's like your millet, your what do you call it? I can't think of the name. Lentils, whole grains, nuts, and lean proteins. Right? It's better to eat these things and cook them yourself. Right? Cook them yourself, man. I know it takes more time, but hey, your body will thank you. Also as what the scripture telling us, you know, um, bodily exercise profiteth little. Hey, but that little does matter. Mobility in itself, profits the body greatly, man. Right? It profits your body greatly. This is Sirach 30 and 14. It says, better is the poor being sound and strong in constitution than a rich man that is afflicted in his body. For example, look at what happened, what the Lord did to Antiochus Epiphanes, man, where his body was literally rotting out. Here it is. He's the king, of that Grecian Empire at that particular time. And what happens? The Lord makes him sick and rots his body out with gangrene to where worms, are flowing through his body. And he's the king, but he can do nothing, man. Ultimately, because the Lord afflicted that rich man's body. So it says, better is the poor being sound and strong of constitution than a rich man that is afflicted in his body. All right. Health is wealth, man. It says health and good estate of body are above what? All gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. Hey, we see when King David was getting old, man, how they brought Abishag, the she was Northern Kingdom, Shulakia. She was from the tribe of Issachar, you know, to see if King David would have heat, right? Understanding that his health and estate, were ultimately through because he couldn't produce heat. He couldn't lay down with her, but he was the king, right? So he didn't have that strong body anymore. It was showing that he was about to, give up the ghost. It says, health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. There is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart. And this is why Yahweh Shemel Shah is also going to give us that new body, man, because he knows, right? The scriptures say the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, and he knows that these bodies need an upgrade, man. And it don't matter how young or how old you are. Us eating poison in this place is only going to, destroy us. So we all need that upgrade, man. We need that new body with the new heart within it, right? 17, death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness. And now you see this is the season where everybody is getting sick, man. It's a season of sickness. So one thing you also want to do is make sure you're putting the correct herbs within your body, man. Use the herbs, and it's not medical information. Use the herbs that are suiting or suitable for your body. Figure out what works, man. And you should have been doing this way before, this particular season. right? Every herb works for every man different. Though the basis of it is the same, your dosage and your quantity, um, of how what's the word of how often you take it, you have to find that out for yourself, man. But understand this is a season where you need immune boosting herbs. Your oreganos, your elderberries, your hyssop, you know, your echinacea. All of these different herbs are used for man. That's why the scripture says, wise is he that will not abhor them. The Lord made the medicines out of the earth, right? Sirach 38:4. The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them. Meaning what? Hey, the Lord gave you these for the usage so that your body could benefit in this captivity. So if you're not using them, guess what? You ultimately just hurting yourself. And remember that those herbs mean nothing if you're not praying. You can take as many herbs as you want. Ultimately, if Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai doesn't allow those herbs to activate within your body, hey, you're just going to continue to be sickly. So make sure you're praying as you're taking these herbs, praying before you take them, because prayer is the key to all of this, man. Right? Hey, when Yahweh Shai and the apostles were healing men, it says by thy faith that was made whole, right? They didn't take herbs to just heal. No, they were doing miracles in the names of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai and were being healed. So that's the point. And we see that it's not getting no better in terms of the food that's being offered into the general public, man. Right? Even you having a farm can only do so much. He'll come and snatch your shit, right? So get on your health tip, man, because you only get one body, until we get the new one. Hey, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying into the body. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere shalom to Yakim bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. Shalom.